Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fourth and Feast, where we go over the latest in sports media content while cooking up some delicious food. This week, we will be going over the Week 12 matchups in the NFL while cooking up some delicious American cuisine with a New York strip steak, mashed potatoes, and bacon-wrapped asparagus with Parmesan spread. The first of many key matchups this week is going to start off with the Chiefs at the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Chiefs did lose their first game to the Buffalo Bills last week, and the Carolina Panthers are looking like the worst team in the NFL. But stay around. I have some really hot takes for you guys, and I believe this may be upset and maybe even a spiral down for the Chiefs here. Starting off with the Chiefs, the offense, we all know, is electric and beautiful with Mr. Mahomes in that backfield. It looks like he could just do whatever he wants, especially with Isaiah Pacheco coming back next week. I think it's going to really help rebound this offense, and it looks like Hollywood Brown is going to make it back in time for the playoff season. The offense last week against the Buffalo Bills looked extremely lackluster, and they just couldn't really get anything going on the ground, which has helped them a lot with Kareem Hunt. And because Kareem Hunt couldn't get anything going on the ground, they had to rely on the passing game. And Patrick Mahomes and his receivers looked very lackluster. I don't know what was going on with Xavier Worthy and D-Hop and Travis Kelce, but it seemed like all of them were not on the same page, especially with Xavier Worthy. 2 times in this game, he had huge plays where his feet were out of bounds and he just couldn't really control his body. Now, I think he is a great receiver, and I would love to see how he can excel in this offense. And I would love to see Andy Reid maybe do some new things with him, throwing some screens and stuff, because that's what he did over there at Texas. And that was what he was extremely good at. I think that they should put him in the Rashee Rice role. And I think that he can really excel in that situation, as we've seen, where he gets end arounds and takes it to the house, or screen passes and takes it to the house. I know he's a huge deep threat, but having him run these complex routes isn't really his forte. He's more of a guy where if you get the ball in his hands, he's just going to outrun everybody or just think skinny and fit between all these pockets. And for Mahomes, he's still Mahomes and looks great, but he needs to hit his cues. I know that his first read may not be open, and it seemed like Xavier Worthy was like the 3rd or 4th read on that huge bomb play, but you need to hit him way earlier than that and just know you are the best quarterback in the NFL, and if you're going to be considered a GOAT, you need to be hitting your receivers when they're open. Going over to the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs, they also looked pretty off last week. They did a really good job at stopping the run and all these receivers. I know that James Cook still had 2 rushing touchdowns, but he had 13 attempts and only 23 yards. That is outstanding. You don't see that in today's NFL, especially with all these running backs doing what they do, and James Cook being one of the more efficient running backs, especially yards after contact. The key weakness that the Chiefs have that I want to see the Panthers expose is the fact that these linebackers aren't as great in coverage as you would like to think. Leo Chenal's more of a downhill tackling guy, and I almost consider him more of an edge player. And Nick Bolton is great in coverage, but is extremely undersized, as we've seen this week with Dawson Knox getting quite a bit of work. And if Dalton Kincaid was healthy, I think that the Bills would have ran it up on the Chiefs, and it wouldn't have even been a close game. And going over to the Panthers side, Bryce Young is coming back. I've always held out faith for this guy. I know as a Saints fan, I really shouldn't be rooting for him, but I just love the character, and I would love to see what he could do against this Chiefs defense, which is really dominant. Bryce Young has looked a lot better coming back. I know that he had a couple of picks against the Saints, but both of those interceptions were both on the receivers, in my opinion, not so much on him. Keep getting Ja'Tavion Sanders involved, as it seems like he is really comfortable throwing the ball to him, and he has a lot of trust throwing it up to that guy because he knows that he's a big body guy and will come down with it. He stands at 6'7" for a reason. Just give the guy a chance. And I think it's a perfect matchup with Nick Bolton trying to cover him, because I don't think that he is going to be able to keep up with the size of Ja'Tavion Sanders. Either Ja'Tavion Sanders will block him into the ground, or will go up and rack catch that ball and take it to the house. Also in that backfield is Chuba Hubbard and Jonathan Brooks now. Chuba Hubbard is looking like a great signing. The guy's been a solid running back, but it seems like ever since he's gotten paid, and just a little bit before that, it kind of lit a fire under his ass, and he's been working his butt off. Everybody's doubted him, and I was one of those doubters too. I never thought that he could be really anything super successful in the NFL. First game after contract, has 150 rushing yards, and this O-line is amazing at run blocking. I know that it's insane to say that the Panthers offensive line is good, and they are horrible at pass blocking. They are the bottom 25, but they are a top 5 run blocking scheme. And so I would love to see what Chuba Hubbard and even Jonathan Brooks can do in this backfield. And on the defensive side of the ball for the Panthers, there's nothing exciting to talk about. All their good players are hurt. JC Horn seems to be the only guy that is special to talk about, and I would like to see what he could do against D-Hop and Xavier Worthy. I think he's one of the only corners in the NFL that can match up with both because he is so tall and so fast. I think he's tall enough to keep up with D-Hop and fast enough to keep up with Xavier Worthy. I don't see anybody else on this defense doing great. I think it will just be a solid effort. I do have the Carolina Panthers winning this game, which is an insane upset to say because I believe that this is the highest point margin, sitting at 10.5 points. But I do think that the Panthers somehow will find a way to do it. It seems like at least once a year, a horrible team beats a really good team. We've seen it earlier with the Raiders and the Ravens. And for the next key matchup, it's going to be a divisional game between the New England Patriots and their division rivals, the Miami Dolphins. Starting it off, the Patriots, they looked pretty good last week with their win over the Packers. And Drake May is starting to look like the best quarterback in this draft as of late. He was my favorite coming out, and I thought that the Bears maybe should have taken him. I understand the Bears taking Caleb Williams as he's a one-of-a-kind talent, but I think Drake May going over to the New England Patriots is just such a perfect matchup, and I love seeing the guy putting in some hard work and it paying off here early in his NFL career. Last week, we seen Drake May throwing the ball over the middle a lot against the Bears defense, who is a top 5 defense in the NFL. And I would love to see him grow that part of his game, as we didn't see that too much in college. We've seen him doing a lot of running and deep balls throughout college. And it seems like in the NFL level, it is very hard for guys to develop throwing the ball over the middle of the field, as we see that in today's NFL. And I would love to see him exploit the Miami Dolphins' horrible linebacker room and even worse safeties. The only other guy to really talk about on the Patriots offense is the guy that got paid a pretty big contract this offseason with Ramondre Stevenson. And I would love to see what he could do in this game. I want to see him take a step up and above all these other running backs and kind of prove why he deserves to be a top 10 paid running back. And I would love to see him getting a lot more receiving work. I know that they brought over Antonio Gibson for that role. I think that he would be a great check down guy, and that's just what Drake May's got to hit against this Miami's offense and just take what he can get. And on the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots, they've always been really solid, and there's no real notable guys outside of Christian Gonzalez, who I think is a really top guy who's extremely young, and I think he is one of these shut down corners in the NFL. And going all the way down the coast to the Miami Dolphins, this offense is electric, as we all know. Even though it seems like Tyreek Hill's been a little bit off, we know that he had that hand injury, and Jalen Waddle has been an amazing wide receiver too for years on years, but I want to see him become more of a wide receiver one as Tyreek Hill gets a little bit up in that age. It seems like recently the Miami Dolphins have really given up on the 2 running back set and just kind of relied on Devon Achane, which I am not complaining about, as he is the most explosive player in the NFL. And any time that the ball touches his hand, he can easily take it to the house. I think that all these players are so extremely fast with the balls in their hand. Whoa, pause. That it doesn't matter who you have guarding them. They're going to do what they want. And on the defensive side for the Miami Dolphins, I think that Drake May is going to be a huge threat for them, as I don't know if they've really played any extremely efficient running quarterbacks besides Josh Allen, and we know how great of a matchup that is. And I know Drake May's been compared to Josh Allen, and we'll see if this defense can maybe take what they've learned from Josh Allen over the years and maybe use it in their advantage against Drake May for this matchup. I think that the Dolphins can seriously maybe get back into contentions of making the playoffs this season with how great Tua and Devon Achane have been playing this year. The next matchup is another huge divisional game between the Vikings at the Bears. Starting it off with the Vikings, their offense, I love to see Jordan Addison getting some work with Jay Jettis being the main target. Jordan Addison really looked like he stepped up last week and he is playing at levels that he played last year. As we all know, the guy is a touchdown merchant. The guy, when the ball is in his hands, it's going to be a touchdown, as he led all rookie receivers in touchdowns last year. And this week I see him getting even more attention, with Jalen Johnson likely following Jay Jettas all around. Now, I think Jay Jettas is an amazing talent, and that doesn't matter too much. I could still see him having a great day, but if Sam Darnold is smart, he will not stare down Jalen Johnson the whole game, and he will let Jordan Addison cook. Also on the offensive side, I would love to see Aaron Jones get some more work like he was doing earlier in the season whenever the Vikings were winning handily. I would love to see him get some more outside runs and some screen passes, as I believe whenever the ball is in his hand and he's out wide going up against these DBs, he is one of the best running backs in the NFL. And on the defensive side of the ball for the Vikings, I love to see what Brian Flores has been doing with this defense, who I think is not as impressive as we would like to say, just based off of names whenever you look at the talent around them. The main guy to talk about on that defense, in my opinion, is Andrew Van Ginkel, who is not talked about enough as a DPOY, but I think he has the attributes and the stats to back it up, as I'll read them off right here. He has over 60 tackles, 8 sacks, 2 picks, which are both pick sixes, and a couple of forced fumbles, as we seen last week. And the only downside that I see for this Vikings defense is the front seven, with none of these guys really being too big or too huge or too impactful. As I said earlier, there's not really too many guys with huge names on that D-line, and I would love to see what they can do against DeAndre Swift, clogging up some of these holes and making them take it out wide. And going over to the Chicago Bears. Last week, they did lose against the Packers like how they always do, but not all is bad. Their offense has finally looked decent, and it's such a relief, especially now that it shows you that it wasn't Caleb Williams, it was the OC, and I think that that gives the GM and a lot of these other guys a huge sigh of relief, as I believe that he was giving all of these old guys way too much leeway and way too much faith, and believed that all of his players were kind of plug and play rather than letting them do what they're great at. I'd love to see DJ Moore and Rome get some more opportunities where they belong. Now, earlier in the season, they kept on throwing screen passes to Keenan Allen, who I love and is a great talent, but he is a really old guy. He's not meant to be catching these screen passes, and that's never been part of his game. Now, Keenan Allen is amazing at 50-50 catches, in my opinion, and extremely efficient at route running and check down and finding zones and zone coverage. Now, I believe that Keenan Allen is going to be a huge part of this offense this week, in particular with how much heat that the Vikings bring. I think that if you can have Keenan Allen lining up in the slot and he's your quick little check down guy, if there's a linebacker or DB draped over him, 9 times out of 10, I'm hitting Keenan Allen because he is that much of a great receiver. And going over to the defensive side of the ball, the Bears have a top 5 defense, and I think that they're going to do a great job this week keeping Sam Darnold on his heels. And I don't think he's as great of an athlete as Jordan Love, and so I can see them easily taking over this game compared to like how they looked last week, where Jordan Love was able to create in space and create his own pockets and roll out. I don't think Sam Darnold can really do that, especially to the level that Jordan Love can. There's a reason why that he makes the playoffs every single year, and why Sam Darnold was a free agent last season. I do have the Bears winning this matchup, which is hard to say because they don't have an amazing record, and I don't like their head coach. But it seems like their offensive coordinator was the main issue, in my opinion. And I believe that these receivers and Caleb Williams will become unlocked with this new OC. Now, I don't think that he should take full credit. I just think he's playing the right guys where they should have been playing off since the beginning of the season. And for the last key matchup this week, it's going to be another divisional game with the Arizona Cardinals traveling all the way up to the Seattle Seahawks, with an amazing matchup with both of these teams coming off of some huge victories. The Arizona Cardinals, starting off, their offense has looked amazing in these last couple of weeks, and I love the physicality that they play with. I love seeing Trey Benson getting in some work now. James Conner still looks like James Conner. It seems like even with his age, he's never taken a step back ever since his days with the Steelers. And Kyler Murray has been playing at MVP level football this season, which is insane to say because before the season, it seemed like he wasn't going to be. Now, I would love to see Maserati Marv do a little bit more in this offense. I would also love Trey McBride to do a little bit more in this offense, and I think that this matchup is perfect for Trey McBride, as I don't believe any of these safeties or linebackers can either keep up with him or play as physical as he can, especially at the catch point. And he's been playing extremely aggressive ball, and it seems like the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, has really coached them up and taught them how to play physical football that he brought over from the Philadelphia Eagles. Going over to the defensive side for the Cardinals, Budda Baker has been playing at an extremely high level this season as he leads the team in tackles, and I believe he's right there whenever it comes to sacks and picks as well. The guy's always been an all-pro player, but it seems like even in his old age, he's keeping it up, which is insane as we all expected him to take a huge step back this season. And it seems like all the older guys in the NFL has said kind of screw the whole age gap and all this stuff and just let me ball out. I know I'm 30 years old. Let me give you what I got left in the tank. But outside of him, there's not really a whole bunch of notable guys, and they are just kind of a solid defense. I think that against the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to have to play deep as they throw the ball more than any other team in the NFL, and they're just going to have to double cover DK Metcalf and hope that JSN and Tyler Lockett don't go nuclear. And on the opposite side of the ball, the Seattle Seahawks, their offense, like I said earlier, does throw the ball the most in the NFL, and I don't think that's a great idea. Now, I think that DK Metcalf and all these guys have the ability to do and create with all the opportunities that they get, but they need to establish the run game more. I would love to see Kenneth Walker get some work in, as the Cardinals are probably going to be playing a lot of deep cover 2 coverage. I would love to see K9 either getting a lot of screen work in the pass game or even just run the ball down their throats, as I think he's a top 5 guy and he's so extremely physical and his contact balance is some of the best in the NFL. I don't see why you wouldn't give the guy more opportunities than he has been getting. Also, the Seattle Seahawks O-line is finally getting healthy again, and I think that that will help bolster the run and then also help Geno be protected in this pass game, as we seen the first matchup between the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, with them breaking records with pressure rates and sacks against Geno. In this last matchup, it seemed like the O-line being healthy was a huge help there, as Geno Smith finally found a way to beat the 49ers for the first time out of, I think it was the last 8 times that he has lost against 49ers. So huge win for them, and I think it even helps them carry over into this week. Little spoiler right there. Going over to the defensive side for the Seattle Seahawks, a whole bunch of names, not a whole bunch of talent in my opinion, as I do not think Witherspoon is all that, and I don't think that he's going to be able to keep up with Maserati Marv out here. Now, the one guy on the defense that I do have a lot of faith in is Byron Murphy. I think that he can do something against James Conner and Trey Benson and really stuff up the middle and make Kyler Murray just rely on his arm running around, which is kind of hard to do because he is so talented when he is on his feet. But I think that if we are able to keep him in the pocket and maybe push up some pressure and make him fold in, you will get some sacks, and that'll be the huge difference for the Seattle Seahawks in winning this game. I do have the Seahawks winning this matchup, as I believe that this can maybe even end up being a 4-way tie between all the teams in the NFC West, and I think that this is the best division to be watching right now, as each one of these teams are playing some of the best football and they all play it in extremely different styles. To end it all off, I'm just going to run through all of the other matchups this week and give you guys a quick little rundown on each one of them in my opinion. Steelers at the Browns. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I still have the Steelers winning that one. That defense is amazing, even though I believe Russell Wilson has not been playing as well as he can be. Titans at the Texans. This game always seems to have a lot more meaning than other people would like to talk about with the Houston Oilers. I do have the Texans winning that one, obviously. I would love to see what Nico Collins can do, as he is finally back and healthy, and he looks like he fully unlocked that offense last week. Lions at the Colts. AR is back, and he is putting in some work. I love to see the attitude change out of the guy. He did piss me off earlier in the season, even though I do still have them losing against the Lions. That could be an upset watch, in my opinion. The Buccaneers at the Giants. I believe that this is Mike Evans' first game back, and I think that's going to be huge for them. Tommy DeVito is going to be starting for the Giants this week, and as much as everybody's been hating the choice of starting Tommy DeVito, the guy does have a reputation there, and I don't see why you wouldn't start him, as he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL whenever he is on the field, and I would love to see what he could do with Leak out there. The next one's going to be the Cowboys at the Commanders. Last week, Cooper Rush didn't look horrible statistically, but if you watch the game, it did look really bad. I think Mike McCarthy needs to be fired, or at least give up the play calling abilities, as I think that he is one of the worst play callers in the NFL. The next one's going to be a divisional game, Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. This one's going to be an easy one for me. I think Bo Nix keeps on cooking. I think he beats the Raiders. Next one is the 49ers at the Packers. It's going to be a really interesting game. I'd love to see how this one plays out. Don't have a team in this one. It's a 50-50 coin flip. Pick your team. Next is Eagles at Rams, and I kind of feel the exact same way in my opinion. I think that the Rams offense is so amazing that they might cause an upset here, but if Saquon just keeps on doing what he does, I don't see how any team could really beat the Eagles at this point. Ravens at Chargers, another huge game, huge matchup here. I have the Ravens winning this one just because they've gone on a couple of losses, and I think that they are one of the best teams in the AFC, and they just need to prove that, even though I could easily see the Chargers winning that. If you guys did make it to this part of the video, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you guys so much for all this love and support that I've been getting out of these last couple of videos. Huge shout out to So-Called Sports Analyst Podcast. It's my boy Josh and Alfonso. They've been giving me huge shout outs, so if you guys want to go check them out over there, I will have a link in the description, as they have some extremely good takes about the sports world in general, including basketball and baseball as well.